Hello. Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Yeah, good evening,
So,
Kishore.
Uh, can we start?
Yes.
9:32.
yeah, I'm sure you can start. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Myself, Ravi Kishore. I am part of MS team. MES team. Today we are going to giving. I mean, I'm going to be giving demo about AWS load balancing. So first we need to know what is the load balancing. There is different kind of load balancing in traditional way and cloud also. Coming to the cloud load balancing, the load balancing concept is like load balancer will provide you the scaling prospects also, where we can leverage horizontal scaling. So uh, uh, because suppose we have a few servers, or you want to
Uh,
uh,
Kishore, are you sharing some screen?
sir, I'm sharing.
There is no screen.
Um,
Kishore.
is it visible my screen? Hello.
Yes, yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, yes, Rohit.
Okay, we are going to give a demo load balancer and type of load balancer and families and architecture and feature and functionality, and give a small demo and how to troubleshoot. I mean, basic troubleshooting purpose. And we can go with how to redirect the HTTP to HTTPS as well. Uh, AWS is offering three type of load balancers. First, we'll see load balancer. Load balancer is distributes the traffic which is coming incoming traffic simultaneously and parallelly, like equally to the servers. And load balancer will provide you the different availability zones. You can see the architecture diagram, which are the load balancer connecting to the three EC2 servers. Uh, and availability zones and automatically scaling, like as I just explained, we can leverage a vertical scaling, I mean, horizontal scaling, like vertical or horizontal. We cannot upgrade the servers on the fly. Suppose if your website is getting huge traffic on the fly, you cannot upgrade the server. By the time AWS, we can leverage. I mean, AWS load balancer we can leverage. We can add the EMA of the servers to distribute the traffic under the load balancer target groups. And we have three type of load balancers: and application load balancer, and network load balancer, and classic load balancer. And load balancers will working on like ISO model, OSI model, different models of. We have actually seven OSI models under physical layer and data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, and presentation layer, and application layer. So load balancers will work on layer 7 and layer 4, which is we can leverage HTTP and HTTPS and UDP and TCP. If you find application load balancer will work on layer 7. HTTP and HTTPS traffic and provides the advanced request routing targeted at the delivery of the modern application architecture. Uh, Modern application architecture mean as we go high availability, we can have the front end load balancer and back end load balancer. If you want to provision high availability, you can have in private network your back end load balancer with the applications, and you can have front end load balancer with the web servers. In that scenario, it can use layer 7 application load balancer will work on that. Coming to the network load balancer, it will work on TCP and UDP and transport layers and TLS as well, like layer 4. Network load balancer, we can have IP address as well, and we can assign a particular EIP also. We can leverage that a particular requirement. And classic load balancer provide basic load balancing across the multiple Amazon EC2 instances and operates the both request level and connection level. Classic load balancer is the intended application that were built within the EC2 classic network. Generally, we can say that classic load balancer is the old generation compared to the application load balancer and classic load balancer. You can find that screen application load balancer and network load balancer and classic load balancer. You can see that previous generation where it is mentioned for the classic load balancer. You can see the application load balancer architecture, target groups and availability zone 1 and availability zone 2. You can find here the network load balancer architecture where you can see IP address and health check. It is connecting to where it is connecting to the route 53 and IP address as well. Availability zones target groups like. You can see the classic load balancer, which is in different availability zone and two EC2s. We can see the features, application load balancer listeners. If we start provisioning application load balancer, we should have listeners before starting. Like that, listeners, we can have HTTP and port 80 and 443 as well. We can leverage SSL for redirection. We can leverage Amazon ACM certificate. I'll give you the demo after this one. Target groups, logical grouping of the target behind the load balancer. Target groups can exist independently from the load balancer and regional construct that can be associated with the auto scaling group. We can leverage target groups with the auto scaling group. If you're using classic load balancer, you can target as the instances. If you are using load balancer from the auto scaling group, you can give the target groups. And the target groups can be instance IDs using that instances using that instance ID and IP as IP addresses and lambda target as well. That rules each listener we can have one or more rules. Like suppose if you want to route the separate domain one domain to separate instances, we can leverage the different rules. Like you can add ports. Suppose I want to use a particular port 8080, that can I can use that port forwarding and redirection as well. Rules condition types. The following are the supported condition type of the rules and host header. Route based routing, you can give the each request that a HTTP header. Sorry, host name of the each request. HTTP header route based on the HTTP headers of the each request HTTP request method, route based on the HTTP request method of the each request. Path pattern, you can mention the path pattern as well using that particular URLs. Network load balancer, if you're coming to the network load balancer is the design to handle the traffic as it is grows and can load balancer uh, millions of the requests it can handle. If it is sudden spike and spike will come in during the network traffic, then it can handle, and it will have that low latency. Network load balancer offers that extremely low latency for latency sensitive applications. And as I said, we can have IP address, static IP support for that, and elastic IP support we have, and preserve the source IP address. Network load balancer preserves that client side source IP, allowing the backend see that IP address the client. Uh, this can be used by application for the further processing. Hello, everyone is
Yes, sir, we
talking.
can hear you.
Okay. Elastic IP support, network load balancer also allows you the option to assign an elastic IP per availability zone. We can have two availability zones that we can assign to available IPs, which we have can get elastic IP allocate that. TLS offloading network load balance support client TLS session termination. This enables you to the offload TLS termination task and load balancer while preserving the source IP address of your backend applications. And you can choose from the predefined security policies your TLS listener. If you can go the load balancer security policies, you can find the different security policies, and based on that it generations as well. There is a TLS and a HTTP, for the three load balancers we can have that security policies. I can show you going forward. Uh, Coming to the classic load balancer, health checks classic load balancer can detect the health of Amazon EC2 instance. Basically, the health check will can help three of the load balancers. It can detect unhealthy instances while routing the traffic. If it is find the unhealthy instances, it will route to the healthy instances. If you have auto scaling, then auto scaling will terminate the unhealthy instances. Security features as like a classic load balancer is same as application load balancer. We can have security groups and sticky sessions and uh, deletion protection. And there is a one feature we can leverage from classic load balancer, that logging. Last time I observed someone is asked that if we can trace that IPs, if you have enabled web, if you can trace the IP address or something in first training. Using a classic load balancer, we can leverage that. For this, we need a few changes in application layer as well, and we can store the logs into the S3. Then we can analyze that logs where is the request is coming from the IP address. I mean source IP addresses. And I can give you the a quick demo. Like how to create load balancer and listeners and target groups, how to associate it with that load balancer with the domain or subdomain, how it will work SSL certificate and ACM as well. Hello.
Yes, Kishore, we can hear.
Am I too fast or?
No, it's fine.
So some I think a little explanation would be helpful. Let's say what is SSL offloading, what is sticky sessions. Okay, I just sent a link for layer 4, layer 7, whatever it is.
Yes, sir.
On the chat. That will help people to understand. Okay. So Amit, you want to explain or should I explain?
I think you can explain for me. I mean, better than me, sir.
Take it, do that. So just run this in presentation mode, no?
Okay.
Below, bottom right. Okay.
Now, should I stop the presentation? Or?
No, run it in presentation mode. I'm saying, F5. Press F5. What did I press? You vanished. Are you there? Praveen, call him.
Yeah, I'm calling, sir.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
we can hear you. Present the screen, no?
Sir.
Okay, all I told you is to run this in presentation mode. So go to view on the top menu, view. Last menu. View. Okay. Array, what is that? Sorry. Where is the presentation mode?
Sir, we can see in the bottom line, sir.
Bottom it is there, but it's not.
Kishore bhai. So you can find in below beside the comments.
Close this AWS load balancing. Close.
Kishore, if you can present the entire screen.
Yes, I'm presenting entire screen only.
No, hold on. Kishore, listen to me. Just listen to me. Kishore,
Yes, sir.
just listen to me. Go to that bottom right, close. Close button is there, right? AWS load balancing, close. Press the close. No, don't go. There only you will find plus minus button is there. That zoom button, right side, right side. Bottom right. Small icons.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir.
Next. Don't press that. Further next. One more.
Oh my God.
Okay. Up. Go up. I don't know what you did, but whatever it is. Next. AWS follow. PowerPoint is important. Next. Next. Where is it?
This one is a TLS offloading.
No, this is not the one. Next. Okay. So we'll start. Okay. Go back. One second. One step back. Okay. So what are the key features? Connection based load balancing. You can load balance both TCP and UDP traffic. So this is pretty simple. yeah, I mean, if you guys have learned that basic networking, you know what that there are two kind of protocols, TCPs and UDPs. You know, TCPs essentially there is a kind of a response handshake as on TCPs, and UDPs are faster to connect and respond. So there are specific service like globally if I create a WAN service, I mean the modern way of connecting wide area network on AWS calls for companies like one of our customers in InstaSafe. Okay, another company, Tata has a company called NetFoundry. Okay, so these are called zero trust dark network. So basically, you can create a global connectivity solution for your VPC on a UDP connection. Okay, so very powerful connectivity used for very specific use cases. But in general, most of your websites will be running on TCP. Okay, so if you are not aware of what is TCP and UDP, please note down and start reading about it. These are very important things to know from the networking perspective. Okay, how is throughput? So network load balancer is designed to handle traffic at its goals and can load balance millions of requests. So how does it do? See, one thing, understand that these are software load balancers. Okay, these are not hardware load balancers, right? If you go and buy a load balancer from a company called F5, one of the leaders in load balancing in the business, F5. If you go and buy that company for your on-premise, they will come and give you a hardware load balancer. It's a box. Okay, it'll come and attach in your network, and it can start load balancing. These are software. So these software load balancers themselves auto scale. Okay, you don't know, you can't see that. They do it internally. So as the traffic increases, and the traffic increases to an extent that their load balancer itself is going out of capacity, the cores and the RAMs, okay, because they are also servers. If they are also going out of capacity, they will also auto scale. So basically, load balancer never goes down. Okay, so let's take for example, big day sale, Flipkart big day sale, or Amazon. Someone has a big day sale, right? Okay, big something. So what happens? They will say that the sale will start at 11 o'clock, and let's say it starts for a particular television. Okay, and it's so you see that within 15 seconds or 10 seconds or 5 seconds, millions of people come, and that television goes out of out of stock, right? How does that happen? So how is it that the infrastructure is able to take that kind of thing? Okay, in that case, what if this is AWS, and if you have a use case wherein your customer has told you that tomorrow 1 million hits are going to come for my website, what will you do? Okay, you will look into the metrics of normal day working metrics of the EC2 instances, and you will scale. Maybe you will say, okay, every day, you are getting 100,000 hits, and you are working on 5, or let's say 4 C5 9x large server, for example. Okay, now for if tomorrow you're going to get million, that is 10 times the load, I'm going to run you on 8, or what? Not 8. I'm going to run you on 40 C5 9x large server 10 times, something like that, right? But what about the load balancer? Okay, so load balancer is a bottleneck now. Below you have created 40 instances. In between there is a load balancer which is a chicken neck. Okay, so remember this concept. Even during your associate exam or certifications that you may get these questions. Okay, what you do is you do load balancer pre-warming of load balancer. Okay, how do you do pre-warming of load balancer? Let me give you AWS AL. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can fetch that form for you. What is load balancer? Yes. I'm just trying to find the right link of AWS for you to understand. Otherwise, there are a lot of. Okay, I'll just give you a Google link itself. Sometimes you just save it later, you check this link. Okay, there are a lot of links in this about pre-warming. So basically what you do is you tell AWS the same story that tomorrow I'm going to get 1 million users, and the 1 million users are going to keep on 10 times the users basically, and the 10 times all these 10 times users are going to come to my website for the next 3 days. So please pre-warm my load balancer. What they'll do is they will auto scale the load balancer. That chicken neck, they will expand. So from top to bottom, you are going to have complete infrastructure provision for you. Okay, so that is the high throughput. So you essentially don't pay for that auto scale load balancer. You also pay for the data transfer that happens through the load balancer. Okay, but you do not pay for the auto scale. Even if they put in 40 instances, you actually don't pay for it. You pay for the same thing, right? But of course, the expectation is that if you ask them to pre-warm, increase the size, you may have as much data transfer, and obviously you'll pay for that data transfer. Okay, that is the whole concept behind it. Okay?
Sir, actually, one of our customer we have did this pre-moving load balance.
Yes. So we have done this 3-4 times in the past. Okay, for different customers. Although after doing that, the customer was expecting a load. Never happened like that. Okay, but this is the strategy. You are running a campaign. When does it happen? You run a big campaign. For 5 million users. Then you do a pre-warming, and all those 5 million can come, and the website will not go down. Okay. Then we'll move ahead. So low latency. Okay. Low latency is very simple. As low latency, I mean, it obviously responds very fast, so that doesn't happen. Okay, preserve source IP address. Okay, so you have seen that many websites will tell you, hello Ravi from Hyderabad. Okay, how do they find? They actually find my public IP, my Wi-Fi IP. Okay, based on that, you have a world IP database which tells you this IP belongs to which country in that which city. And many a times, if you find further data, it will also tell you the locality. Okay, it will say welcome Ravi from Tarnagar. Okay, how does it know that? It knows because of the IP. So what does preserve source IP address? Whatever is the client's calling IP. So there is a hop. A client calls on a load balancer. Your IP check is going to happen on the application server. Okay, so load balancer will preserve the IP and forward that IP to the application server. Okay, this is called X forwarding. So go and read about X forwarding. X:/forward. Okay, just hit on the Google and start learning about it. X forwarding. What are the concepts behind it? How many types of X forwards are there? What is the utility of X forwards? X forwards, knowledge of X forward will help you a lot in solving problems when customer says that I'm not getting the source IP. You will get such thing. Just about 6 months ago, we got this problem with Tata Projects. Okay, and then we found a way to do it. And kya naam to bande ka bhul gaya. He's gone to Altisource. Whatever. So he solved that. By Shekhar, correct. So Shekhar solved it, right? So we have to learn that. I don't know if that document is there, Praveen, but we should have. I think it's there. He had written something. Okay. So that is a preserved source IP address, and it forwards it to the customer. Okay. Then static IP support, network load balancer. So remember, ELB and ALB, you do not get an IP. Okay. You will all get IP only under NLB. And it is very important to understand the difference between an ALB and NLB. Okay. Get into the go to AWS and learn about the difference between ALB and NLB. When should NLB be used? Okay, we have socket programmings. When sockets are to be used, we use NLB. That is network load balancer. Okay, when devices like your these in vehicle tracking devices are there. When the vehicle tracking devices connect to the network, you need an IP, and those can connect directly over TCP. So network load balancer helps. Those can connect. They can have socket connections to be enabled. Socket programming. I'm sure in engineering they would have kind of told you about socket programming. Generally that is a very basic programming that people do. Socket connections can work. Nowadays, socket.io, learn about socket.io, how your web page, how Facebook works. Okay, how, forget Facebook, how a server can connect back to your browser. Okay, I earlier, like when I started programming, there was no way for a server to be browser aware. How many people are connected to that server? There was no way to find it out. So when the sockets started coming in, socket programming on the web, there is a concept called slow HTTP connection. Write it down. Read about it. Slow HTTP connection in web world. Okay, what is a slow HTTP connection? Right. So it creates a reverse connection between. Basically, it creates a forward connection between the browser and the server, but actually there is no data moving in. So it's called slow HTTP. But the browser is aware. So from the server is aware that I have 500 browsers that are connected to me. So from the server side, if I say hello, all the 500 browsers will get hello message. Reverse. Okay, it's a very powerful concept. Use case I can tell you, like you see this browser-based stock trading platforms will be there. Where stock prices keep changing. Okay, that is done on this socket connections, reverse socket connections, right? So that can work on something like this. Though I have never tried it on an NLB, but that is how that is one of the use cases. Then elastic IP support. Okay, NLB allows you to put elastic IP. That's what I said. You can have an elastic IP on NLB. Okay. Now the TLS offloading, right? So what is offloading? So understand. Again from the SSL configuration, I know in the training list there is one specific training ask for an SSL configuration, which will happen in the due course. Okay, but understand this is a very base concept of SSL. The word is offloading. See, when a SSL handshake happens between your browser and the endpoint. What is the endpoint in our case? It can be the load balancer or it can be the server. Okay, so if when so basically when an encrypted what happens when you do SSL? Basically that the whole payload gets encrypted. Okay, SSL creates an encrypted pipe and the data moves inside that encrypted pipe. That is how it works. Read more about how SSL works. Okay, and when it reaches a destination, like from my browser to the server or the load balancer, an encrypted pipe is created. The data has moved. It has reached the load balancer. At that point of time, it is supposed to offload the SSL. That means the data from the encrypted pipe has to come out. If it remains encrypted, you will not get anything. Encryption is so strong. Okay, the current 256-bit encryption has never been hacked, never till date. Okay, it will get hacked very soon because of quantum computing. Okay, read about quantum computing. How fast has computers become because of quantum computing? Okay, very soon you'll see that all these encryption standards are 256 bits and all will be broken. So you'll have to have much stronger encryption standards. Okay, and I'm telling you this will happen in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay, but quantum is picking up big time. Okay, so so now where do you offload it? Offload means take the data out. SSL ko you throw away. It's just like your rocket goes and the payload moves out, right? And the residue falls down. Same way, right? So SSL offload. So I can offload the SSL at the TLS. TLS is a more modern SSL, as if you really ask me. Okay, I can offload it at the load balancer. Okay, and listen to this carefully. Either I can offload it at the load balancer. That means the connection between load balancer and the instance is non-HTTPS. Okay, it is on port 80. Load balancer to instance is port 80. Okay, or I can do a pass-through to the instance and offload the SSL at the instance. That means end-to-end connection from your browser till your instance. There is the data will flow in a SSL connection itself. So when Kishore shows you a demo on how to configure a load balancer, I'll tell you exactly where is this concept being used. But remember, offloading is a strong word. if you're clear about this concept of where to offload the SSL, you will find that one of the bigger problems while configuring SSL is recursive loops. Okay, you will get, if you are setting up SSL for the first time or the first 2-3 times, you will get a problem that browser will show you that your page has gone into endless something like that, endless recursive loop. Okay, if you see this problem, the answer is only in offloading the SSL. Where have you offloaded? You don't know. I mean, maybe you have not configured properly. If configured properly, it will get SSL will get working, right? So this is a very strong thing that you should know. Okay, next. Health checks, simple health checks. Whether so you have a TCP based health checks and a HTTP based health checks. Okay, TCP is very simple. You know, port. If the server goes down, it will say gone down. Health and HTTP. HTML, HTTP based. Okay, if I do that, it will. If your application goes down, even then it will show unhealthy. Okay, you can say HTTP index.html or index.jsp or whatever is your homepage / karke you dal do, and it will keep on pinging it. If it goes down, if it shows an error, it will remove that server from the load balancer. Okay, wherever it is happening, right? Then comes security features. What is in this? You create manage security groups, class group. Create a class of public IP address. Okay, this is right now talking of the normal security features of security groups and all. But I'll tell you one very important security feature which is not here, is that our load balancers of AWS are also act as reverse proxy. Okay, again a keyword alert, reverse proxy. Go and read about reverse proxy. What is a reverse proxy? How it is used? What is a demilitarized zone? DMZ. Difference between DMZ and MZ, demilitarized zones and militarized zones. Okay, read. These are very common things on the net. You'll get it. Read that properly. In AWS, a DMZ is basically reverse proxy servers you place in a DMZ. That means public subnets. Okay, and the servers, your instances, you put in a militarized zone. Those are private subnets, right? So when you're using our load balancer, you do not have to configure a reverse proxy explicitly. You don't have to launch a server, put in Nginx, and then you configure a reverse proxy, and then you put it live. You don't have to do all those. Live load balancer itself is a AWS load balancer is a reverse proxy. Okay. Now comes again SSL offloading came. Oh, that was TLS and SSL. Basically same concept. TLS is a little more modern than SSL, but funda is the same. Okay, or if there is some specific differences, maybe I'm not aware. Just go and read what is the difference between TLS and SSL. I think you should better do that, because of my mind I don't have anything very specific in terms of feature. TLS will have certain better features than SSL. Okay, then comes sticky sessions. Very important concept. Okay, sticky sessions. So when you configure a load balancer, there are two kind of load balancer, two kind of modes, basically, not the load balancer. In a load balancer, there are two kind of modes, and I'm talking right now of ELB and ALB, not of NLB. Okay, only ELB and ALB. There are two kind of modes. One is sticky session, one is round robin. Okay, I believe in your MCAs or BTECs, you would have been explained about what round robin does. Okay, and round robin is very simple funda. It says that for people who don't understand, let's say you have this railway reservation counter, right? The old ones. We used to go to the railway station, and there are 10 windows. Okay, 10 windows basically. All of them have. So all of these guys used to only have terminals. Okay, they don't have a full PC. They just have terminals. Okay, all the terminals are connected to a central server inside the reservation complex, and that central server in turn is connected to the main terminal, which may be somewhere located in the data center. But what this central server does is it works in a round robin fashion. So if there are 10 windows, the central server is connected to only one node at any given point of time. It doesn't connect to all the 10. Okay, so it moves in a round fashion. One by one it will keep connecting 1 2 3 4 10 1 2 3 4 10 1 2 3 4 10. This it does at a very high speed. Okay, the speed is so high that every terminal guy feels that he is the only one connected, but at any point of time only one is connected. So that is the simple concept of round robin. The whole Indian Railway reservation complex works like this. round robin, right? So in our thing, load balancers also, we have two things, sticky sessions and round robin. So now let me explain you what is the round robin concept with the load balancer. Okay, which is important to know when you are doing solutioning, when you are putting an application, when you're discussing with the client, and when you say that should I should I provision your application server in a high availability mode. I will take a separate class or when we talk about architecture. The next sessions, and after this session is done, will be on architectures. Okay, that the first one will be high availability. So I'll be explaining more there. But understand that if I'm putting in a high availability, I'll put a load balancer. Under the load balancer, if I configure a round robin, okay, hold on. Let me take a step back. See, when I log into an application, we all know that sessions are getting created. Post login, we are Ravi, welcome. Okay, a session is created, right? That session is so session is nothing but one unique ID allocated to that particular browser client. Okay, which is stored at the application database. That means Tomcat, Apache. It is stored at that database, right? So when I log in, my unique ID is, let's say, is stored in Tomcat database of the server 1 under the load balancer, right? Now I will do a round robin. What will it do? Round robin will, for the first time, it will connect me with server 1. I will log in. When I again take the next click, it will now connect me to server 2. Okay. Now I don't have that unique session ID in server 2. What will happen? I'll log off. So every time I log in and press the button, I'll log off because on the other server, I don't have the session ID. So what we do is, for enabling round robin, this is a solution statement. So listen to it carefully. To enable round robin, it is very important that your session is centralized. Okay. How do you centralize a session? Let me give you AWS. There used to be a very good write-up on this. AWS has changed a lot here. I'm not updated. Nevertheless, doesn't matter. So you can find out, all this fundas you'll find how to do a Tomcat. AWS already provides a jar for centralizing the sessions on your Tomcat. Okay, you can use that. Similarly, you can use Elasticsearch. You can use Redis for centralization. There are many ways to centralize your session. Okay, so then what will happen is, when you centralize the session, whichever server I connect to, I will still get the session ID from a common database. So in simple effect, my session will move from out of the server into a common database. Then I'll stay logged in. If this is not possible, if the application team says, no, this is too much, I cannot do this change in the application, then we will do sticky session. Sticky session, as the word says, the session your user session, when you connect to the browser, your user session will stick to the server which you got connected for the first time. You will never go to server number 2. You'll always come into server number 1 only. How does this do? This happens because the load balancer will set a cookie with the session and or the server number ID or whatever into your browser. So every time you connect again, it will always carry the server ID to which it originally connected from, and load balancer will always put you on that server. Okay, this is called session sticky, and the opposite is round robin, right? So both the things. This feature is not available. Round robin is not available. Oh, sorry. Sticky session is not available on NLB. Am I correct? Praveen or anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No, sticky session is not available on NLB. I always get confused which one is not there. Okay. Then comes layer 4 and 7 load balancing. Please read that link which I have sent in the chat. You should be by heart, having it by heart and understanding properly all the 7 layers. Understand properly. They are very important network layers. This is how networking is done, layer by layer by layer by layer. Tomorrow, if you do security, you work on any concept. Which layer, people will ask you, which layer are you going to put my load balancer? Okay, so layer 7 or layer 4. Okay, so you have to answer, I'm going to put layer 4 because of this reason. Okay, so understand these layers, networking layers. Okay, and this concept doesn't change, cloud by cloud by cloud or local networking at your on premise. This concept always remains the same. It's an old concept and the root concept. Okay, and then logging is logging of your all the VPC transactions. Oh, sorry, ELB transactions that is happening. So the logs with which you create charts and all, right? So that is what it is. Okay, so next, anything else? Good one. Demo.
Ravi sir, so can you explain in which scenario we can prefer which load balancers?
Which scenario, which load balancer? Okay.
Yes.
So first thing is ELB is deprecated. So you never use ELB. Elastic load balancer is gone. Okay. What now options you have is application load balancer and network load balancer. There are only two options. Okay. ELB is for your information that there is one more load balancer, but we do not use it anymore. Now, when you do an application load balancing, okay, एक काम करते हैं. Let me connect this statement with the demo. Okay, so Kishore, do you have in your demo, have you kind of looked at routing by the slash or by the subdomain name?
Subdomain I have, sir.
ठीक है. Show that. So answer first question answered. First part of Praveen's question is what he will demo you right now.
So we can see classic load balancer is previous generation. You can observe here while creating the load balancers.
Okay, so this what you now seeing is hold on, just be there. So this whatever you're seeing now, first line HTTP 80, HTTPS 443. Okay, what is this telling? Is this correct or this is ulta?
This is correct, sir.
Or you've added two listeners right now. So you have not done the routing yet. Okay, go ahead. Finish it, then I'll talk. I just want to show how load balance SSL offloading is done.
Then we can create a separate listener, sir. First we can create
exactly. Something correct.
So we can have public different subnets in each availability zone here.
Okay, so is that the empty subnet you are showing right now?
Yes, sir.
To attach a load balancer, we attach an empty subnet, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now understand. I'll just give the theory. You kind of explain it later. So I told you guys about militarized zone and demilitarized zone, right? Two different zones I said. So your server, your application, all your application instances are in the militarized zone. That means no one can enter. When I say no one can enter, even the load balancer cannot enter. Okay, funda was clear. It is militarized. No one can enter unless until I allow. Okay, so how will the load balancer enter? Okay, so what we do is in the same VPC, we create, load balancer is outside. In the VPC, I create a public subnet. We attach that public subnet. What he has attached, right? The first one, AP South 1A, and B, he has attached a public subnet, right? Into the load balancer. So we give an entry for the load balancer inside the VPC and only for the load balancer. No one else can enter this. Okay, then go ahead.
So where we can have the upload the ACM for HTTPS. So let me show ACM as well. So I have two ACMs for subdomain, and I mean wildcard is the first one, and second one is a different purpose we have taken. For subdomain, you can use the wildcard, and we are going to use now wildcard this one. So let me check first. You can see the status is initial state should become available or empty. We can show here health checks, and as Ravi sir explained, a load balancing algorithm round robin, and you can see that sticky session option as well. So you can enable sticky session and giving 300.
So there's one more that has come. I didn't know that. Open that. Least
This
outstanding
is least
valuable.
outstanding request.
Least outstanding request. Okay, you continue. Let me just figure out and tell you what it is. I never knew this.
So we have one subdomain which is successfully working with this application load balancer.
Okay, interesting. So I'll quickly explain that LOR, least outstanding request. Okay, so what typically happens is when you're doing load round robin, and when there is excessive load, what happens is many a times you will see that one server has more load than the other. Okay, this can happen because typically in case when a lot of hits are coming on a continued basis. So round robin, it so happens it is moving server 1 2 1 2 1 2 is doing, right. So as soon as it reaches 1, maybe 5 people got in. As soon as it reaches 2, there are only 2 requests that got in. Then again it reaches 1, another 5 came. So the balance becomes 10 and 4. Okay, so it used to so happen earlier that one instance could be, you could see that one instance, the number of outstanding requests are more. So now this new concept of LOR is implemented, least outstanding request. Whichever server has the least outstanding request, it will send the traffic into that. So the balancing will become much better. That is LOR. It's a very powerful, good concept, because I remember about a year ago or 2 years ago, people used to say, "Arey, mera ek hi server mein there is load. I don't have more load. What is this, Ravi? AWS doesn't work." Okay. So some funda used to give and prove it that it is working, but and I faced this in PwC. I had spent one full, almost half day practically explaining them that load balancer is working, and it is not the way you are saying. But actually it was the way they were saying. So as of now, though, somehow I convinced them. Okay, so now this feature has come, which is a very powerful feature. It will guarantee that your load is equally distributed even in a round robin funda. It works only with round robin. Okay, go ahead.
So we are adding listener 443. And this is the security policies. By default, it will take 2016. You can find here TLS and security policies. Generally, we are selecting general one. Recently, I found that if you selected general 2016, your SSL is showing like a B grade. If you select latest 2018, it will show that your SSL is A grade, which is under the load balancer. So as of now, we'll take this default one, and we can select the ACM. I have two ACMs, and one is wildcard, one is normal SSL, where we have taken for separate requirement. So I'm selecting wildcard one as of now.
Let me explain what is wildcard, because you have used the word. Okay. So, go ahead.
Okay, okay.
Bolo, bolo.
You're asking something or explaining?
No, I said I'll just explain to the people what is wildcard. Okay, you see in the bottom, in the second drop down, it is star.eskillindia.org. Okay, so basically a wildcard means I can select any subdomain name. I can have Ravi dot, I can have Kishore dot, I can have Minfi dot for eskillindia.org. Okay, if you don't take a wildcard certificate, then you take specific certificate. You say I want one certificate for Kishore.eSkillIndia, okay, or one another certificate for Ravi dot. So I'll have to keep creating a certificate for every subdomain that I create, right? That's why you use wildcard. Go ahead.
Forward.
Who is the certificate authority? Amazon or some other?
Amazon.
So we have configured load balancer with target groups and registered, and there is a one server you can see. Which is healthy state. So my application is running on the server. So when you hitting that load balancer, DNS endpoint, you can see the website, right? So, now we are mapping with the subdomain with the load balancer which we have configured. This is the domain I have.
So I hope you guys remember about CNAME and DNS, which I spoke on the first day. It was a very bad presentation, I know.
So
Common names.
Yeah. So difference between CNAME and A record is A record takes only IP, CNAME takes only URLs. CNAME can take both, basically. Yeah.
I think it is a part of DNS terminology.
DNS, yeah. So different kind of records are there in the DNS. Okay. What I was kind of telling the last day, okay, 2 days ago when I conducted this training.
So now you can see that website is mapped with that particular load balancer, and you can see secured certificate which we have taken wildcard certificate provided by Amazon. And if you go with monitoring, as of now we didn't get much of metrics here. Let me check. Actually, this is a good part where we can troubleshoot basic. Suppose your website is not running, or somebody is complaining, my website is loading very slow. Even your servers are running fine. We can find here the few metrics like request count and 5x or 4x and 200, like 504 errors. Commonly, you'll get the 504 errors when a server is not reachable. Suppose somebody is trying to hit your website. The load balancer is sending the request to the your server. Maybe your server connected with the load balancer. There might be the issue with server or inside the load. I mean, CPU or memory and RDS something. Then you can get the healthy status of the server. It will goes to unhealthy status. You can find, as of now it is in healthy status. It will goes to the unhealthy status. There is a few metrics we can found there. You can see the details like target response time, and request count.
So in the MS Ops platform which we are right now building, we are working on the correlation of all these charts. Okay. So once that is ready, I mean, Bharat from our team, DevOps team is working on it. So I think by next weekend we will have a correlation ready. When I say correlation, it is like if this chart looks like this, what is the effect of it on an EC2 instance? If the load balancer is showing or the CloudFront is showing you this kind of metrics, what is the effect on the other one? Okay. So that we'll discuss later sometime, but you'll definitely come to know how to correlate.
So we have created one load balancer, registered target groups, and we have mapped the load balancer with the subdomain, and we have taken ACM, which is Amazon provide SSL. We have updated the DNS endpoint with the Route 53. Then we have subdomain with the HTTPS. I'll send you the links which we can troubleshoot basic troubleshooting based on the error codes 504 or 503. I'll send you the links in that email.
Okay, so is that it on any other demo?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So fine. So now, if you see, we have started from the top level, Route 53, then coming into networking. Now we have reached the load balancer. Tomorrow we'll be reaching the EC2, the different kind of EC2 and the EBS drives that we have. Okay, it's a very important session tomorrow because there are multiplicities of it, and I'll explain those from the perspective of solutioning and presets. Okay, where to use what kind of EC2 instance of family and what kind of drive, okay, and what kind of storage. Okay, that is what I will be explaining tomorrow. Okay, so and then Kishore will give you some more demos on the EC2. So he has already given a part of it today, but he will tell you how to configure EBS, how to expand a drive on the EBS on runtime. Okay, what is IP, elastic IP, what is security groups, obviously, and how to add, remove ports, what are the effects, so all those stuffs we will give you the demo tomorrow, right? So tomorrow, what time is it? 10 o'clock or is it 6 o'clock?
10 o'clock, sir. 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, sir.
Correct. So even if you are sleepy, no, it doesn't matter. If you're sleepy, just sleep. Okay. Anyways, it's getting recorded, but do see tomorrow's recording. Okay, that will give you a very quickly you'll understand the different kind of instances and why to use those instances and where to use these instances, right? So it will help you. Okay. So fine. So let's meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Okay. Thanks. That was nice. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
PPT.
All PPTs will meet
Okay,
everyone. Send the PPT to Prabhu. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Kishore.
Thanks, Kishore.
Thank you, everyone, for bearing me.
Thanks, Kishore. Thanks, Kishore.
It was a nice session. Very much helpful.
Actually, I was not prepared well.
No, it was good. Seriously.
I stuck with NSDC issues here and there from morning.
Now we came to know many things from this session, so it was
Anyway,
overall it was good.
Thank you, Vash, bearing me. Once again.
Tomorrow again, right? So thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, sir. Bye. Bye.